From Neural Newscast, this is Deep Dive, exploring the moments that shape today.
I am Claire Donovan.
And I'm Frederick Moore. Welcome to Deep Dive.
Today we are looking back at March 16th, 2026, a date that represents massive leaps in human potential, whether that is launching a rocket into the atmosphere or drafting the very framework of a nation.
It is a day of beginnings, Claire, and perhaps the most explosive one happened in a quiet cabbage patch in Auburn, Massachusetts, exactly 100 years ago today.
You are talking about Dr. Robert Goddard. On March 16, 1926, he launched the world's first liquid-fueled rocket. He called it Nell. It was an awkward, spindly-looking contraption, but it changed everything.
It is incredible how modest that first flight was. It lasted only 2.5 seconds, reached an altitude of 41 feet, and landed about 184 feet away. To the casual observer, it might have looked like a failure, especially since it ended in a crash.
Right, but as we know from the history of innovation, those few seconds were proof of concept. Before Goddard, rockets used solid fuel, like gunpowder. They were unpredictable and lacked the power for long-distance travel. Liquid fuel was the breakthrough that made spaceflight possible.
It really was the Wright brothers' moment for rocketry. Every Saturn V rocket that eventually took us to the moon can trace its lineage back to that cabbage patch in Auburn. Goddard was a visionary who was often ridiculed for his dreams of space travel. But he got the last laugh. The master of slapstick. Lewis was more than just a comedian. He was a filmmaker and a massive philanthropic force with his annual telethons for the Muscular Dystrophy Association. He had this frenetic, rubber-faced energy that defined a whole era of comedy.
And staying with birthdays, if we go much further back to 1751, we find the birth of James Madison. He is often called the father of the Constitution, and for good reason.
Claire, his influence on the American experiment is almost impossible to overstate. Not only was he our fourth president, but he was the principal author of the Bill of Rights and the recorder of the Constitutional Convention. He provided the intellectual backbone for the entire United States government.
It is fascinating to think about him working through the Federalist Papers, trying to convince a young nation to adopt a brand new system of checks and balances. His legacy is literally written into the laws we live by today.
Yeah, and bringing us into the modern era, we also celebrate the birthday of Alexandra Daddario, born in 1986. She has become a major presence in film and television, from the Percy Jackson series to big summer blockbusters like San Andreas and Baywatch.
She has a real range, Frederick. It is a wide spectrum of talent we are seeing today, from the founding fathers to the stars of the silver screen.
While we are on the subject of the Constitution and the laws of the land, there is a legal story from this day that sounds like it should be from the 19th century, but it actually happened in 1995.
You are referring to the 13th Amendment. On March 16, 1995, Mississippi became the last state in the Union to ratify the amendment that abolished slavery.
That's remarkable when you hear the date. The amendment had been ratified by the required number of states back in 1865. But Mississippi never officially submitted their ratification paperwork until 130 years later.
It was largely a symbolic gesture by that point, as slavery had been illegal across the country for over a century. But it was a necessary clerical correction to reflect the state's official stance on the record.
It serves as a reminder that history isn't always a straight line, Claire. Sometimes the paperwork takes a century to catch up with progress.
From the drafting of our founding documents to the first liquid-fueled flight and the long road to constitutional ratification, March 16th shows us that progress is often a series of small, determined steps.
Whether it's a rocket in a cabbage patch or a signature on a page, these moments build the world we live in. Explore more history at deepdive.neuralnewscast.com. I'm Frederick Moore.
And I am Claire Donovan. Thank you for joining us for this look at the timeline. Deep Dive is AI-assisted, human-reviewed. Explore history every day on Neural Newscast.
This has been Deep Dive on Neural Newscast, exploring the moments that shape today.